try it. All right, so here we are. Where were we, guys? Assumptions, right? So all the expenses together are called assumptions. These expenses highlighted together are called assumptions. And that's noted on page 3 as well. So page 3 will give you all the names individually and then together. The reason we're range naming all the ones together is that it helps in the process of adding scenarios later on. So it's just a way of speeding up that process. Okay. The other range names at the bottom of page 3 will be for the results section. So on this template, income 1, no spaces right on a range name. Income 2 and so forth will be the range names here, which for the scenario summary are the expected results. When we look at a rubric for this project, the scenario summary must have not only the changing values, but the result values on the report. The result values are this income 1, 2, and so forth by quarter, and then obviously for the year. So that's the goal with this page 3 information, is to get those range names. Now, looking at our pro forma statement, net sales for the first quarter will be just a range name. Right? So that will that's my formula. That's all I need. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So what's the formula for cost of goods sold? Equals what? CGS times quarter 1 sales, right? Make sense? So instead of cell referencing, you'll range name in your formulas. And a lot of you have been doing that already in other formulas, so I know you're comfortable with that. What's gross profit? Well, in this case, I don't want to get too overbearing, so let's just do cell reference, okay? So if this is C5 minus C6, you don't have to individually range name all those cells too. Just do a cell reference for that. Make sense? Even with the total operating expenses, just do an auto sum, right? And make it easier for you. All right, the rest. One of the things that I do see on occasion is, let's say I've got CGS times quarter 1 sales, and then students want to copy that, right? But what do you got to be careful of?
Not to go all the way to annual.
Well, before.
You gotta switch quarter 1 to quarter 2.
Yes, you got to switch 1 to 2, 2 to 1 to 3, 1 to 4, and then obviously yes,
Yeah.
annual. So be careful with that when you use the copy command. When I multiply, what do I need to do? So in this formula, add the round command, right? To how many places?
You said no sense of 0.
Very good, Crystalline. Excellent. Excellent. Great job. 0 places. Are we good? Cheryl, you all right?
Yeah.
What's your thought?
So my actual formula would be round, then the CGS times 41 sales, comma 0?
Correct.
Gotcha, okay. Now I've got it.
Okay. Yep, the formula we have. And as a rule of thumb, Cheryl, I always do the formula first, make sure it's working, and then add the round command, rather than trying to do it all at once.
Okay,
Because if I get an error, I don't know where it is.
right.
So,
That's what was my problem on
yep, yep. With the annual column, you could, I would just use auto sum. Right? Can we though, for the gross profit, just do a subtraction of the 2 cells above it? I don't like doing auto sum on a subtotal. I'd rather have the 2 numbers above come down and make the subtotal for us. Is that all right? Make sense? Because sometimes I have a rounding issue. I won't here, but if you're dealing with cents, in some cases, if you're working in cents, you might have a rounding issue. All right. Oh, I got somebody beeping at me. Oh, alt plus equal sign is also auto sum. Thanks, Tiffany. Excellent. I've never used that. So what she's saying, alt plus equal sign. Oh, cool. Rather than using the auto sum function on the home ribbon. That's what she's saying. Alt, hold the Alt key down, and then hit the equal. It will also give you the auto sum. Hence the shortcut. It tells you that. Gosh, Gary, if you'd only read. Thanks, Tiffany. Next. Page 4, please. I'm going to save this because I had trouble with my smartboard the other day. Page 4. At the bottom. Are 2 more scenarios. A best case scenario and a worst case scenario. So now we're up to 3 different scenarios, right? We have the expected, the original, best, and worst. Now, these numbers are not entered on your pro forma. So you will not have to create another input page for all these values, right? Here and here and here. So where do these numbers go? So if I go back to my Excel template, soon as I find my mouse. At this point, for the best, worst, and even the expected numbers, I'm going to go to my what-if analysis under data and go into scenario manager. Now, I did give you a second handout, guys. It's only a couple pages. I discussed the steps to get into scenario manager. It's just where to find it, right? Under data, what-if analysis. And I go through what are the changing cells, what are the result cells, and so forth. So this is what I'm going to do now. So I'm just following the steps. I've already got the expected results in. So what you are going to do is you're going to add, call this the best, by changing what cells. Now I just selected this, right? Does anybody remember what we called, we said assumptions and net sales, right? So this is where that range name that we created, where we selected all of the expenses and all the income accounts, we can use those range names in this changing cell section. That's what it's used for. Rather than hand picking each cell individually. I got a lot of blank stares at me. Am I speaking a foreign language? Crystal, yes.
So on here it says add new scenarios, expected best and worst. It's only best and worst, right?
Well, you'll also have to do the expected.
Okay.
I didn't do the expected because it's already there.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, you start with the expected, then do the best, and then do the
Gotcha.
worst. Because scenario manager is separate from the pro forma,
Yep.
it doesn't recognize that connection. It'd be nice if it would.
What did you take in for changing?
Changing cells are those, that word range name net sales? What do I call it?
Net sales and
And assumptions. Yep.
Do you need an equal sign before that for it to?
No, just type it in. Separate with a comma. And do the sale numbers first, because that's how accountants think we do the revenue numbers first. So that's why net sales is first, and assumptions is second. Cheryl? I don't feel the love right now. This is a lovable project.
Is this all on the same worksheet, or do you want these like best on one, worst on one, expected on one?
Actually, you're on the pro forma right now.
Also, yeah, it'll just pop.
It'll just pop in and create your second worksheet automatically, once you have the different numbers in. Yep. You have to do the scenario manager from this worksheet. I repeat, you have to be on this worksheet in order for the scenario manager to work. I'll show you what I mean, what happens with students. Because it's going to create a new worksheet, a second worksheet called a summary, a scenario summary, automatically from these numbers that we're putting in now. So, are we good to go on? Because I don't want to go on if somebody's not quite ready yet.
I think it's just kind of when we do it ourselves.
They'll click?
They're like, what's the number in there?
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't have these names defined in this little example. So I'm going to get rid of them. And don't do what I'm doing now. I'm just doing it to select them. Press OK. And now it brings up every input box that is changeable, right? My sale boxes and my expense boxes. And now I go to page 4 because I'm doing the expected numbers. Page 4, the bottom of page 4. So what's the quarter one sales for the best case scenario? 690. So I just type them in. What percentage is for the cost of sales? Marketing. Sales events is 0.07. Do you see how I'm just adding these numbers? 74,000. That's an email. 4% for sales commissions. There is a toggle, guys, right? So that means there's more boxes to fill in. At times, students will fill in how many boxes are listed here? 5, and they stop. So make sure you toggle down and get all the expenses. Every one that's shown on this sheet, you should see on this input box, right, on the bottom of page 4. Once that is done, just press OK. And now I have 2 scenarios. I go back, add the worst case. It's already got my stuff. Worst case, the sales were 670. I'm up to 53% on my cost of sales. Marketing stays at 25. Now remember the question. What was the question? If I move my marketing cost to 100,000, how much is that per quarter? 25. What is that? It's a fixed cost, right? So under all 3 scenarios, the marketing cost will be 25,000. Going forward, the sales events goes to 9%, 76,000, and then 6%, and then 6%, and I'm done. You can't go anywhere. Verify these, guys. There's a lot of opportunity for input error at these points, right? It's just the number that we're typing in. Sometimes I get fat fingers too. So just be aware that it might to verify it when you're done. All right. So now when you're done, you should have 3 scenarios: best, expected, worst cases. There are 3 ways of showing the data. I can highlight it and show the data on the pro forma. And here's my numbers. This is bothering me. I gotta change this back. Okay? So I'm making 163,000 under the best case scenario. I go back to data. I go back to the what if analysis, scenario manager, go to the worst case scenario, and show it. Now I'm down to 113. If I go back to my best case scenario, or expected, show that, I'm back to my original numbers. So showing what you're highlighting, you'll change your pro forma. Now, I'm still looking for a summary of all 3 on one page, right? So do you see that there's another button here called Summary right underneath the Merge? I select that summary. What is my results cells? Remember that net income 1, net income 2, 3, 4. It's the cell right here, guys. My net income cells, the results. I want to see the changing cells and what are the results below it. So here's what the summary looks like. Press OK, and voila. I've got my second worksheet created automatically. You don't have to do anything. You don't look too happy about that. That's, we've got 3 worksheets. The second one is automatically done for you. Right? Now, let me make this bigger. Can you see it better now, guys? What don't you like about this statement? There's some numbers that aren't formatted, so I'd like you to do that. Now, one of the things that you can do is make sure that your numbers on the input section are appropriate. Now that I say that, I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah, because it wouldn't work for percentage.
No, it won't.
But would it work for commas in your
Yes, I think it will.
the numbers?
Or worst case scenario, Crystalline, I would just go in here
Just edit it?
and just edit it. Make it a percent. And that's not too bad. You can highlight a couple of these at once, you know what I mean? And change it. So spend a little time here. Format the numbers so that they look appropriate. Because again, a formatted number is much easier to read. It's interesting that this is changed. 51% was changed.
Yeah.
I think if I go back to my pro forma, it's how they're shown here. So change the format on the pro forma input section, and you should be good that it shows up properly on the scenario summary. Yep. It uses this format to create the format in the scenario. All right? Oh, somebody's... Is the office salaries and other selling not in the scenario options to change because they are fixed? No, Tiffany, I was just lazy. I didn't add them. They will be there for you. You have to. Okay. Going back to my scenario summary. So we noticed that. What else needs to be done here? Are there 2 columns that are the same? Yeah, so what should we do?
Should get rid of one of them.
Get rid of one of them. Obviously, column D. You don't want to be redundant, because again, that lends to questions with your numbers. Why are there 2 columns with the same numbers in? What else do I need to do here? Very distracting. Those notes. Do I really care that the current values column, blah, blah, blah? I just deleted it, right? I would like you to delete this. There. Doesn't that look much nicer? What else can I do? Yes. And name it, right? Who's the company? Cindy something. And then, yes, who said center it? Rock on. Way to go. Merge and center. Wouldn't it be cool? If it worked? I don't know, I'm just making this up. You know what I mean? Put a title on it? Then what should we do? Oh, print it. I can go to my page layout, right? Look at my margins. Always mark it centered horizontally. So when I do a file print preview, doesn't that look much nicer in the center of the page? Right? Versus the upper left corner. Cheryl?
Agreed.
I'm just checking in because this is all Greek to you maybe. Are you getting okay with this? You're going to ask for help, right, when you need it? Okay.
I don't want to ask for
I told him last time I get paid by the number of questions, so.
When we start, I'll make you rich.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Because if you don't do it here, you're not going to do it after you graduate, right? So that's the main purpose of this. So make it look pretty. Make it look nice. If you don't like purple, you like red, change it. I don't care. If you want to put boxes, borders around the numbers, that's great. Whatever you feel you want to do. That's the second worksheet. What happens if I found a mistake? Gosh.
You're gonna go back.
Gotta start over.
Yeah.
Yep. So what do you do first? I delete this worksheet, right? How do I delete it? Right click on it. You get this nice little warning message. It's never a good sign when you see an exclamation point. Okay, it's gone. I have another one out here, right? This is another one I was playing with. Gone. Remember, to do a new summary, I have to be on what worksheet? The pro forma. Yep. So then I go back to my pro forma. That's where I'm coming from. Go to data, what if analysis, scenario manager. Pick the project that I want to, or projection I want to change, and edit it. Correct? Go back to the cells and change whatever number I need to change here to make it right. If you want somebody else to proof your numbers, remember, we can do that, right? What did you get for the expected? I'm okay with that, but I don't want you sharing books, correct? Or worksheets. That's taboo. Because again, I would like you to use this when you leave here. That is another reason why I have this, because that's your textbook, basically. If you want to reference it, or as Adrian did, Google it, right? There's some nice videos out there. Okay, so we're good with the second worksheet. So what have we covered so far? Gary, you said an hour. I know.
And technical issues.
We had technical, oh, good save. I thank you, Adrian. This is the point sheet. This is the first worksheet, pro forma. That's where you start, right? This point sheet is on page 6. There it is, 6. Incredible. Okay, page 6. We've covered that. We've covered the scenario, which is our second worksheet. I think we've covered everything on there, including the title, remove old or unused necessary information. Cassidy, good thing you came. You've been struggling a lot tonight.
I am?
No.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
Oh, you are too?
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. Oh, no. Well, come here and relax. I'm a little stressed. Nothing's working tonight very well. Cheryl's ready to throw tomatoes at me.
I'm gonna make you rich.
That's right.
Questions.
That's right. All right.
Bonus.
Our third worksheet will be called a common size comparative income statement. Can I have you turn
What did you call it again?
the common size comparative income statement? The sample instructions are on page 5 of the handout. The template for it is on page, it's the last page of that handout. So go to the last page, please. Page 5 has the info. But the actual template, and again, this is just a format that I created. If you want to do something a little fancier, you certainly can. But here's what we want on it. So I'm going to go to that sample page. See what I mean, Cassandra? Obviously, we need a title, right? And it should be centered. We're going to have how many columns? 5, right? And I want annual numbers. Annual current year, annual prior year numbers. I'm going to start there with the annual prior year numbers. They're on page 1 of your assignment. The prior year annual numbers are on page 1 of your assignment. So to get these numbers in, I'm going to put the word hand type. Manually put them in. It's one of the few times I'm going to have you do that. I'm just transferring it from this hard copy to Excel. Now, does that mean hand type in the gross profit and hand type in the operating expenses? No, please don't do that. I'll have a heart attack. Okay? That's not cool, right? If you got numbers and you want a subtotal, you don't copy the subtotal. So I'll be looking for that. That way I know if you've been listening. Okay? All right. For column 1, I would like you to cell reference. Okay, but I'm going to put a question mark here. The reason I have a question mark there is what is the results I want to see on my pro forma? It's the expected. So, in order to submit this project, the pro forma has to be showing the expected results. So I'm going to cell reference from pro forma. So make sure your pro forma is showing the expected results. Remember, it's very easy to show the worst case scenario or the best case scenario using Scenario Manager. That's why I need this to be the expected results. Here again, do I cell reference the gross profit or any subtotal? And the answer is no. That should be a formula here that you hand do over. So subtotals, formula, right? No cell reference for subtotals. This is a horizontal analysis. So the next column over is the dollar difference. right? It's just going to be a subtraction, C6 minus D6. That's the formula. And you're just going to copy that down, right? The tricky part is, guys, remember, an increase in sales will increase income, right? But an increase in expense, does that increase income? No. So, you cannot just add and subtract your pluses and minuses and expect that this difference here in income is going to match perfectly. So as a check figure, the difference that you show here by adding and subtracting the pluses and minuses and know how expenses work on profit, right? Make sure that they come out. So over here in column 2, what did we have for a loss for the year 14.4? And I'm just picking a number. I'm making this number up. Let's say this is a positive. What is the change in income that I should see in the third column? It's not 86,000. What is it? The change in income is 114,400, right? I came from a negative and I went to a positive. I crossed the 0 point. Remember doing that in math class? If you're starting from a negative, you're crossing the 0, and now you're going 100,000 more. Well, that's a change of 114,400. Positive, right? Again, I'm not feeling the love here. I'm below 0. I got to go 14,000 to get to 0, and then I'm going another 100 to get to 114. This is my Spock thing. Did I do that last time?
You do that every time.
Do I really? Keep track of that. I'm supposed to improve. Maybe I got to come up with some other form.
Make a new one.
Make a new one. There's my clear as mud. I've used that quite often already this year.
We're like 2 weeks into this year, so we're good.
Well, I used it enough times. I don't remember. I'm too old to remember which one I did. Yeah, I do it cost quite a bit. That's because you don't know me very well. All right, so take a look at that. I think that's a fun little challenge. The last two columns.
Question.
Yep. The last two.
That's another one.
What's that?
That'll be another question for you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I want you to do a vertical analysis here of the projected results which are the expected, and then prior year. How do I do a vertical analysis? On the QuickBooks income statement, the vertical analysis. We start out with sales, which is always what? You divide by sales. Sales divided by itself is 100%, right? And then we go from there. So to get this percentage, it's a formula, right? Cost of goods sold divided by sales. Marketing divided by sales. Every number is divided by sales. That's our common denominator. Remember doing that in accounting too? I think you did it in intermediate probably also.
2 years.
Isn't that nice to refresh?
Yeah.
Good. Well, make sure you're on the expected column for the fourth and then the actual last year would be last year's numbers. What I want you to do is look at these percentages between the 2 years, and I want you to be a judge, whether that's a good change or a bad change, because remember the question. If I spend another $25,000 on marketing costs this year, is that going to be good for our company? And I want you to use, as far as your reasoning, you've got to back up your answer, right? I want to see what numbers you use. You can use the change in income, right? You can use these, right? You can look at your different scenarios, best, worst, expected, and see what happens between those three to back up your answer. I don't want one-line answers. I don't want to say, well, the expected income is great, so yes, we should go with that. I want you to use these ratios. I want you to use these change in numbers. Use the horizontal analysis. Use the vertical analysis. That's what it's there for. You've got to convince the owner that this is a good or not good decision. They'll rely on you to be the expert. That's the job here. Okay. I feel like I'm yelling at you. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just saying. I do apologize. I feel like I'm yelling at my kids. I don't mean to do that, but I care about this and I care about your answers. That's the main reason. Because again, when you leave here, they're counting on you to make that right decision. Now, I'm going to put this in red. I want the round command to 3 places.
Only on this sheet.
Only on this sheet. Because these numbers are a decimal, but we've got to change them to a percent. What's 0.256 as a percent? 25.6%. Because I want these percentages to show the 10th position, so that's why I'm rounding to the 3rd position in a decimal format. So if I want a 10th position on a percent, I've got to round to 3 places. Am I cool with that? So every one of these percent formulas have to have that round command. Now if I do one of these, right? Oh, let's stop. Let's rework here. What do I do for the subtotal percent? What's a good way to do it? We're almost done, guys. We'll take our break. I want you just to subtract. I want you to subtract, just like you subtract the dollar amounts, I want to subtract the percentages the same way. Would it C, or actually I'm probably in G7 minus G8. I'm just making these up for the subtotals. Again, there's a problem with rounding, because if I go and take the dollar amount of gross profit and divide it by sales, because of rounding, I might have a decimal point difference. You know what I mean? So let's just say the gross profit is 25.6. If I use the formula, percentage divided by sales, whereas the actual difference is 25.5. It could happen, right? I don't want questions. Every Excel worksheet you do, you don't want questions. Why is this not, it should be 25.5 and it's showing 25.6. That's embarrassing. Because a person will look at these two numbers and will know that it should be a 5 instead of a 6. That's embarrassing. You're the accountant. Why don't these numbers add up? Don't take it from experience. I've made many of these mistakes, and it's embarrassing. Because non-accountants love to question our numbers. It's an ego thing. Especially bankers. Bankers don't like it.
I'm not that kind of banker.
Thank you. We need bankers. I'm not saying that, but some, yeah. Well, there's some background. Accountants not always honest, right? Okay. Let's go back to our rubric. We've talked about the pro forma. That's where we start. We talked about creating the second worksheet automatically. We got through the common size, the third and last worksheet. So there's only 3 worksheets. There's no updated worksheet or workbook. I talk about the round command. I talk about how the percentage in columns 4 and 5 should show with 1 decimal location. So we've covered all of those things. I have to do this. A if statement. Yes. I want the words net income or operating income or net loss to appear automatically. The test cell, I'm not going to show you this because you should have plenty of experience now with if statements. The test cell that I want you to reference to is the expected operating income. That cell is your test cell. So if that cell is greater than 0, income, right? So operating income should appear. If it's less than 0, that's the false. It should show net loss. Okay? So that's where I tell me where to put that and make sure it works. Put a 0 in for sales. You're going to get a net loss, right? Make sure it changes from income to loss automatically, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to test it. I'm going to change one number, and it should automatically change that word to loss or income. So, we're getting there to the questions. Here's my cost question. Because you have me, yes, you have a cost question. Tell me the difference between fixed and variable. And I would like examples. Tell me what you know about fixed and variable costs. How do they behave? How do they change? When did they don't change? What are some examples of a variable cost or a fixed cost? And you can use some of the stuff that are in this project, or you can go to your cost book, or you can Google it. But if you Google it, I just don't want the definition, because that you just copy. If you're using that, that's fine, but then give me examples. Show me that you understand that term. That's question 1. So 3-4 sentences. Question 2. Here's that marketing question. I want you to tell me yes or no, whether it's a good idea to spend the additional $25,000 on the marketing. Using the results of the scenario summary, using the results of the ratios, using that change in income results, tell me why it's good, tell me why it's not good. What would you recommend? I'm the boss. Cindy is. Tell her what she needs to know. Finally, the last question is a dollar number. What does fourth quarter sales need to be to generate $100,000 worth of income for the year? For the year, using the expected sales scenario. I would like you, that other handout, it's the last page of that second handout, the instructions. I'd like you to see if you can use this if you choose. So it's under data, it's under what if analysis. It's really cool. Under data, what if analysis, it's goal seek, it's 3 input boxes. I do want to make one note here. The changing cell. Can someone on the last page read, where do I go for the changing cell? It says what? Fourth quarter sales. The input section. I don't want you to be up here in the pro forma. The input. So if I get a question, my goal seek is not working, this is the first question I'm going to ask. What did you call your changing cell? It's the changing cell in the input section. So make a note of that. Don't use the fourth quarter sales in the pro forma. Because remember, that's changing, right? Goal seek can't work if it's changing. It blows up. So you have to use the input cell. All right. Any final questions? That's it. I'm going to stop here. Let's take our first break.